In 1943, Rosalind Russell, the queen of quick wit, glamour, and star power, vanished from the public eye. No new films, no public
Filming began in May, and Rosalind's contributions extended beyond acting. She collaborated with the hairdresser to create Sylvia's signature flipped hairstyle, which became a trend among fans. When the film was released on September 1, 1939, it was a massive success, earning over $2 million. Rosalind's sharp wit and impeccable comedic timing stood out, solidifying her as one of Hollywood's top comedic actresses and increasing her salary to $3,000 a week. However, during filming, there was one infamous moment on June 17, 1939. While shooting a fight scene with co-star Paulette Goddard, what was supposed to be a playful catfight turned unexpectedly real. After 14 exhausting takes, frustration boiled over, and on the 15th take, in the heat of the moment, Rosalind bit Paulette on the leg. Paulette screamed in pain, and filming had to be halted. The bite broke the skin, requiring 3 stitches. To avoid scandal, the studio fabricated a story for the press, claiming Paulette had been injured in a horseback riding accident. Horrified by her actions, Rosalind tried to apologize, but Paulette refused to speak to her for weeks. Eventually, they reconciled and even became friends. The bite left a small scar on Paulette's leg, which was visible in some of her later films. In her 1977 autobiography, Rosalind finally addressed the incident, writing, "I've played many animals on screen, cats, snakes, you name it, but that day, I actually became one. It's a moment I've regretted for decades, but it taught me an invaluable lesson about the line between acting and reality." The footage of the scene was never used in the final cut, but it became legendary in Hollywood history. In 2019, during the 80th anniversary screening of The Women at the TCM Classic Film Festival, Paulette Goddard's granddaughter revealed that their family still owned the dress Paulette wore during the infamous scene. Rosalind Russell soon became one of the most unforgettable stars of Hollywood's golden age. Her next major success came with His Girl Friday, 1940, where she starred opposite Cary Grant. The role of Hildred Johnson was not initially intended for her. Director Howard Hawks first offered it to Carole Lombard, but her asking fee was too high. Other stars, including Jean Arthur, Irene Dunne, and Ginger Rogers, also declined the role. Even Rosalind herself was hesitant, attempting to convince Hawks not to cast her. The film became famous for its rapid dialogue, spoken at a record-breaking speed of 240 words per minute, nearly 3 times faster than standard conversation. To keep up, Rosalind practiced her lines for hours each day, pushing herself so hard that she once fainted during rehearsals and even developed a temporary stammer, which she had to work hard to correct. What made her performance even more remarkable was her improvisation. Believing her character needed sharper dialogue, she secretly hired a copywriter to write extra quips which she inserted into scenes without warning. This forced Cary Grant to react spontaneously, creating an electrifying, unpredictable dynamic between them. Despite her efforts, when the film premiered, Rosalind was so convinced she had done a terrible job that she left the theater halfway through. However, His Girl Friday was a massive hit, earning over $2 million, an enormous sum in 1940, and cementing Rosalind Russell as a top-tier comedy star. Though best known for comedy, Rosalind's career was marked by versatility, earning her 3 Oscar nominations in just 5 years. In My Sister Eileen, 1942, she played Ruth Sherwood, a character from Ohio. Although Rosalind was from Connecticut, she worked with a dialect coach for months to perfect a Midwestern accent, convincing audiences that she was a true Ohioan. Her second nomination came for Sister Kenny, 1946, where she portrayed Elizabeth Kenny, an Australian nurse who developed a controversial polio treatment. This role was particularly personal for Rosalind, as her nephew had been treated using Kenny's methods. To fully embody the role, she spent 6 weeks living with the real Elizabeth Kenny, studying her mannerisms and even mimicking her walk. Her third nomination came from Morning Becomes Electra, 1947, in which she played Lavinia Manon, a dark and complex character. The emotional intensity of the role was draining for Rosalind, marking yet another testament to her dedication and range as an actress. The intense demands of Morning Becomes Electra took a toll on Rosalind Russell, leading to a nervous breakdown after filming concluded. At the 1948 Academy Awards, she was so confident she would win Best Actress for the role that she started to stand up, only to be stunned when Loretta Young's name was announced instead. She later joked about how loudly she sat back down. One of Russell's most iconic roles came later in her career with Auntie Mame. She first portrayed the character on Broadway in 1956 before reprising the role in the 1958 film adaptation. Securing the part was not easy, as producers initially preferred Greer Garson. Determined, Russell fought for the role, even performing scenes in the producer's office to prove she was the perfect fit. The Broadway production ran for 639 performances, and despite suffering from severe arthritis, Russell never missed a single show. The repeated motion of dramatically throwing her arms wide during one of her signature lines even led to what she humorously called Auntie Mame's elbow. When the story was adapted into a film, studio executives feared Russell was too old for the role. To convince them otherwise, she underwent a screen test with full makeup and costume, ultimately winning them over. The film became the highest-grossing movie of 1958 and earned her another Oscar nomination. Fans adored her portrayal of Mame so much that they wrote letters asking her to adopt them, and one devoted fan even broke into her home, believing she truly was Auntie Mame. In 1943, at the height of her Hollywood fame, Rosalind Russell suddenly disappeared. No movies, no public appearances, she simply vanished. For decades, the official explanation was exhaustion, but now, her son Lance finally reveals the devastating truth. However, that is not the only secret they kept. From her real birth year to the untold story behind her Oscar night heartbreak, this is the Rosalind Russell nobody knew. Born on June 4, 1907, in Waterbury, Connecticut, Rosalind Russell grew up in a wealthy family in a grand 18-room house at 305 Hillside Avenue. With servants to assist with daily life, her father, James Edward Russell, was a successful trial lawyer who made a fortune representing major corporations, while her mother, Clara McKnight Russell, hailed from a wealthy background and worked as a fashion editor for Vogue magazine. Contrary to popular belief, Rosalind's name was not inspired by Shakespeare's As You Like It, but rather by a steamship, the SS Rosalind, on which her parents had traveled. This unique name mirrored her distinct personality, which led her to an extraordinary life. Rosalind attended strict Catholic schools, including Marymount College in Tarrytown, New York. Despite her sheltered upbringing, she craved independence and excitement. At 19, she secretly applied to the American Academy of Dramatic Arts in New York City, knowing her parents would disapprove. To gain their approval, she told her mother that she wanted to become a teacher of dramatic arts rather than an actress. This small act of rebellion hinted at the bold spirit that would later define both her personality and career. In her films, she often portrayed strong, independent women who stood up for themselves. After graduating from the Academy in 1929, Rosalind embarked on her career, undeterred by her family's disapproval. She supported herself by working as a fashion model, posing for top designers and appearing in magazines, while persistently seeking stage roles. Her first major breakthrough came in 1930 when she secured a role in the Broadway revue Garrick Gaieties. The show was a success, running for 161 performances and giving Rosalind her first taste of fame. That summer, she made a daring decision by joining a stock company in Saranac Lake, New York, against her parents' wishes. Living in cramped quarters and performing a new play every week for 7 months was a challenging experience, but it honed her adaptability and quick thinking, skills that later became trademarks of her acting career. In 1931, she joined Edward E. Clive's repertory company in Boston, where she recognized the growing importance of voice training in the new era of talking pictures. Determined to excel, she took serious voice and singing lessons to prepare herself. In 1932, Rosalind briefly pursued opera, performing in small venues around New York. However, she soon realized that her voice lacked the strength for classical singing. Rather than feeling discouraged, she used this setback as motivation to work even harder, ultimately deciding to focus on Hollywood and film acting. By 1934, Rosalind had moved to Los Angeles to chase her dream. Her experience in modeling and Broadway set her apart, leading Universal Studios to offer her a contract soon after her arrival. However, her time at Universal was disheartening. She felt ignored and unwelcome, and the studio failed to recognize her potential. Fortunately, MGM, Hollywood's most prestigious studio, took notice of her and invited her for a screen test. Realizing this was her opportunity to escape Universal, she devised a clever plan to get out of her contract. On June 15, 1934, Rosalind met with Carl Laemmle Jr., the head of production at Universal, who had a preference for glamorous women. To make herself undesirable, she deliberately disheveled her hair, smeared her makeup, wore unattractive clothes, and even adopted an irritating voice. She slouched, acted clumsy, and accidentally spilled coffee on his desk. For 45 minutes, she complained non-stop about her misery at Universal. Laemmle was so uncomfortable and unimpressed that he immediately agreed to release her from her contract. As soon as she left his office, Rosalind rushed to fix her appearance and headed straight to MGM, where she signed a new 7-year contract just 17 days later, on July 2, 1934. The studio was eager to develop her talent, and her first major opportunity came swiftly when she was cast in Evelyn Prentice, starring Hollywood icons William Powell and Myrna Loewy. Although her role as Mrs. Nancy Harrison was brief, with only 12 minutes of screen time, she made a strong impression. During filming, she faced a daunting challenge, an emotional courtroom breakdown scene that required her to act alongside seasoned stars. Nervous and struggling to get the performance right, she found herself under the intense scrutiny of director William K. Howard, who angrily berated her in front of the entire crew. Instead of breaking down, Rosalind used her frustration to fuel her performance, delivering such a raw and powerful scene that the entire set was left in awe. When Evelyn Prentice was released on November 9, 1934, critics took notice, marking the beginning of her rise in Hollywood. Rosalind Russell's talent was evident from the start, with the New York Times even mentioning her by name and praising her performance. MGM executives recognized her potential and increased her salary from $300 to $500 a week. By the end of the year, she had already secured roles in 3 more films, and her career was on the rise. Her big break came in 1939 with The Women, though landing the role was not easy. Director George Cukor originally wanted another actress, but when that actress was unavailable, Rosalind seized the opportunity. She boldly walked into his office and declared, "I am Sylvia Fowler." Though Cukor gave her a chance, her first 4 screen tests did not go well. He felt her performance was too exaggerated and lacked precision. Each failed attempt left her in tears, but she refused to give up. Determined to succeed, she spent $500 of her own money on a custom outfit and even studied a panther at the zoo to refine her movements, making them more sly and feline. Her efforts paid off, and on April 25, 1939, she was officially cast as Sylvia Fowler. Russell demonstrated equal skill in both comedy and drama and was known for her commitment to authenticity. For The Women, 1939, she hired a professional boxer to teach her how to throw a realistic punch for a fight scene. Her comedic timing in His Girl Friday was so crucial to her performance that she even had her wisdom teeth removed to improve her delivery. On the dramatic side, she took her preparation just as seriously. While preparing for The Trouble with Angels, 1966, in which she played a nun, Russell lived in a convent for 2 weeks to immerse herself in the routine of the sisters. Her dedication to dramatic roles was especially intense during Morning Becomes Electra, where she isolated herself from the cast and even had a soundproof dressing room built to maintain her focus. Russell's versatility extended beyond acting. She learned to sing and dance for the Broadway musical Wonderful Town, despite having no prior experience, and won a Tony Award for her performance. Early in her career, frustrated by being typecast in supporting roles, she secretly studied serious acting and literature to prove her dramatic abilities. This determination allowed her to redefine her career on her own terms. However, the constant transition between comedy and drama took a toll on her mental health. Later in life, Russell revealed that she had struggled with bipolar disorder throughout her career. She believed that her mood swings contributed to the emotional depth she brought to complex roles in films like Picnic, 1955, and Gypsy, 1962. Her personal struggles and professional triumphs cemented her status as one of the most remarkable actresses of Hollywood's golden age. The story of how Rosalind Russell met her future husband, Frederick Brisson, is worthy of a Hollywood romantic comedy. In 1939, Brisson was traveling from Europe to America by ship, where the film The Women was played repeatedly. Captivated by Russell's performance as Sylvia Fowler, he joked to his friends, "I'm either going to kill that girl or marry her." He had no idea that fate, and Cary Grant, would soon bring them together. Upon arriving in the United States, Brisson stayed at Grant's guest house while Grant was filming his Girl Friday with Russell. Brisson was eager to meet her and begged Grant to introduce them. Amused by Brisson's persistence, Grant repeatedly asked Russell on set, "Have you met Freddie Brisson?" Finding the question humorous, she would reply, "No, what is that? A sandwich?" Determined to play matchmaker, Grant finally arranged for them to meet on February 23, 1940. That evening, Russell opened her door expecting to go out dancing with Grant, only to find him standing with Brisson. They all went out for dinner, and that night sparked a romance that led to one of Hollywood's longest-lasting marriages. On October 25, 1941, Rosalind and Frederick were married in a glamorous California ceremony, with Cary Grant as the best man. Their happiness grew when, on November 7, 1943, they welcomed their son, Carl Lance Brisson. Lance's birth came at a high point in Russell's career, just a year after her Oscar-nominated performance in My Sister Eileen, 1942. Despite her demanding profession, Russell and Brisson remained devoted to each other for 35 years until her passing in 1976. On their 35th wedding anniversary, Brisson gave Russell a gold bracelet adorned with 35 diamonds, which she cherished and wore until her final days. Russell managed to balance her successful career with motherhood in a way that was ahead of her time. Rather than shielding her son from Hollywood, she brought Lance to film sets so he could understand that acting was not just about glamour but also hard work. Even after becoming a mother, she continued to take on challenging roles. Just 3 years after Lance's birth, she delivered another Oscar-nominated performance in Sister Kenny, 1946. She also collaborated professionally with her husband on The Velvet Touch, 1948, a film he produced. Despite her busy career, Russell remained dedicated to both her work and her family, leaving behind a legacy as one of Hollywood's most talented and beloved actresses. Rosalind Russell prioritized her family life, ensuring a stable and loving environment for them. In 1941, she and Frederick Brisson purchased a Beverly Hills home, paying in cash, which became their sanctuary amidst the chaos of Hollywood. Her Catholic faith played a significant role in shaping her life and career, as she was an active member of the Good Shepherd Parish and the Catholic Motion Picture Guild in Beverly Hills. Her faith also influenced her work in unexpected ways. While preparing for The Trouble with Angels, 1966, she learned from a former school friend, now a mother superior, that a Catholic school in St. Louis needed funds for a new building. Russell convinced Columbia Pictures to hold the film's premiere in St. Louis, with ticket sales benefiting the school. This act of generosity not only helped the institution but also added depth to her portrayal in the film. Her faith also guided her professional conduct, making her known for her dignity and professionalism on set. Far from hindering her career, these qualities helped her stand out as a sophisticated and respected actress. In the 1950s and 1960s, as Hollywood underwent changes, Russell transitioned to television and stage work. On September 15, 1953, she surprised audiences by appearing on Schlitz Playhouse of Stars, a move that was significant since people were accustomed to seeing her in films. This transition proved successful, as her television appearances became widely popular. In 1958, she performed in a live CBS broadcast of Wonderful Town, which was watched by an astonishing 27.7 million viewers, nearly half of all television-owning households at the time. Around this period, she also became a Broadway sensation. In 1953, she starred in the musical Wonderful Town, based on her earlier film My Sister Eileen. The show was a massive success, running for 559 performances, and her triumphant return to the stage after nearly 20 years earned her a Tony Award for Best Actress in a Musical. Despite not being formally trained as a singer, she dedicated 6 months to vocal training, mastering the songs. Performing 8 times a week was exhausting, but her dedication paid off when she received a standing ovation that lasted nearly 4 minutes at the Tony Awards. She later donated her Tony Award to support arthritis research. However, the 1960s brought personal hardships. On her 62nd birthday in 1969, Russell was diagnosed with breast cancer. Just 3 days later, she underwent surgery to remove it. At the same time, she developed rheumatoid arthritis, which struck suddenly one morning, leaving her unable to move her hands or feet. She described the pain as feeling like repeatedly slamming her fingers in a car door. Despite these challenges, she continued working, concealing her illness from the public by using special costumes and makeup. By 1971, her health had deteriorated further. She had lost significant weight and was taking 26 pills a day to manage the pain. The cancer returned, and in 1972, she underwent another surgery. Even as her body weakened, she persevered and completed her final film, Mrs. Polifac's Spy, 1971, a project that held special significance for her as she not only acted in it but also wrote the script under the pseudonym C.A. Knight, her mother's maiden name. She had previously used this name for The Unguarded Moment, 1956, making it a full-circle moment in her career. However, working on the film was incredibly challenging due to her deteriorating health. The medications she took altered her appearance, making filming even more difficult. Sadly, the movie was not successful, and Russell later regretted publicly discussing her illness, believing it made studios hesitant to work with her. Reflecting on her struggles, she once said, "Losing your health is the worst thing that can happen to anyone." This marked the end of her nearly 40-year film career, which spanned over 50 movies. Rather than letting her struggles define her, Russell became a passionate advocate for arthritis research. In 1970, she publicly spoke about her condition for the first time, even removing her gloves during a congressional hearing to reveal her swollen hands, shocking those in attendance. Between 1970 and 1976, she raised over $20 million for arthritis research by hosting events and giving speeches. She played a key role in the passage of the National Arthritis Act in 1974, which provided funding for research and treatments. Despite her fragile health, she collaborated with doctors to test new treatments, hoping to help others who suffered from the disease. In 1976, just months before her passing, Russell delivered a speech at a medical conference. Though she was in a wheelchair and in immense pain, she spoke passionately about the urgent need for an arthritis cure, inspiring many. Her legacy endures through her contributions to medical research and her remarkable career, leaving an indelible mark on Hollywood and beyond. The Rosalind Russell Medical Research Center for Arthritis has helped millions of people and continues its vital work. Although Rosalind passed away on November 28, 1976, her story did not end there. In 1977, her autobiography Life is a Banquet was published, co-written with Chris Chase. The book, filled with humor, honesty, and great stories, captured her personality perfectly, reflecting how she embraced life as a grand feast of experiences. One of the most surprising revelations about her life came from her son, Lance Brisson, who disclosed that Rosalind suffered a severe nervous breakdown in 1943. This occurred at the peak of her career, just 3 years after her iconic role in His Girl Friday. At the time, she was struggling to balance her career with being a new mother while also dedicating herself to the war effort through USO shows and fundraising. The situation worsened when she lost 2 of her siblings, leading to immense stress and exhaustion. Eventually, she collapsed, describing the experience as waking up one morning and falling in a heap. She spent 3 weeks in the hospital and did not appear in any films in 1944. After recovering, she chose to take on more serious roles in films like Sister Kenny and Morning Becomes Electra, which helped her grow as an actress. Another surprising truth about Rosalind was her real age. For years, she claimed to have been born in 1908, but after her passing, it was revealed that she was actually born in 1907. This kind of age deception was common in Hollywood, where youth was often valued over talent, especially for women. Rosalind was so committed to maintaining this illusion that even her autobiography listed the incorrect birth year. This small but significant deception slightly alters how we perceive her career. For instance, she was actually 33, not 32, when she starred in His Girl Friday. Her story highlights the unfair pressures actresses faced, constantly needing to appear younger to stay relevant. Rosalind's personal life was just as fascinating as her career. She came from a large family with 6 siblings and often described herself as the ham in the sandwich, feeling stuck in the middle. The family endured difficult times, especially in the early 1940s when 2 of her siblings passed away. These losses added to her stress, but her family worked together to protect her public image during her breakdown. One of the brightest aspects of her life was her marriage to Frederick Brisson. Their love story was like something out of a Hollywood movie, and they remained devoted to each other for 35 years, an uncommon achievement in the industry. Beyond her films, Rosalind made a lasting impact through her dedication to helping others, particularly in arthritis research, a cause close to her heart due to her own struggles with the disease. In 1974, she established the Rosalind Russell Medical Research Center for Arthritis, which continues to assist people today. Her son, Lance, carries on her legacy by supporting the center and other causes she was passionate about. Rosalind's influence also endures through her films, where she portrayed strong, independent women in roles such as His Girl Friday and Auntie Mame, inspiring countless women to be bold and pursue their dreams. In 2009, the documentary Life is a Banquet introduced her story to a new generation, presenting both her triumphs and struggles, offering audiences a deeper understanding of who she truly was.